Hello, welcome to the Luxe Leap. My name is Réland Logan, and here we chat about women consultants making bold moves, big wins, and the secrets to extraordinary branding. So I have a question for all of you who are listening, and thank you to those who have been listening to us for a while. And if this is your first time, welcome here. But I need to know, have you ever faced a major shift that seemed insurmountable, leaving you feeling more like a bystander than a leader in your own organization? Don't worry, you're not alone. In a world where change is only constant, too many women leaders find themselves struggling to adapt and steer their teams through transformative times. And Kristin Belden is here to empower those at the helm of change. She's an evolution strategist specializing in guiding women leaders who are navigating significant organizational shifts. Kristin's approach is all about turning upheaval into opportunity, ensuring that you are not just going through changes, but growing through them. So as a consultant, mentor, strategic thinker, and a honestly badass mom, she has spent her entrepreneurial journey helping leaders transform uncertainty into action and fear into momentum. So prepare to shift your perspective on change, and please welcome the expert in leadership transformation and strategic evolution, my friend, Kristin Belden. Hey, Kristin.
Hey, Réland. Good to see you.
Nice to see you. I'm so excited to have you here. And we always kick this off by having you share what inspired you to start your brand. Give us just a brief, Grandma's Reader's Digest version.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for having me. First of all, I was so excited when we realized we had this opportunity to chat because everything you're doing is so incredible and so inspiring. So it's really just an honor to get to chat with you like this. And I will share that if I'm totally honest, my business and my brand was honestly a bit of an accident. I launched my company a month after I had gone through a very intense and kind of, honestly a bit traumatic experience with my former employer.
Mm-hmm.
And I just needed to do something positive for myself. And I needed to just put one foot in front of the other. And so a month later, I incorporated my LLC as Belden Strategies, which it still is. But if you are a branding expert, which you are, you will see that BS is my two main letters. So
yes.
I might have thought about that a little bit harder had I been a little bit more intentional, but it's all good. I'm, typically a bit of a perfectionist. So the fact that I just had to go for it and move into it and not overthink it was honestly the best. And those things can change, right? That will likely evolve with time, but
or you could live with it and make it really cool.
Or we can figure something out. Maybe we can figure something out. But yeah, that's how I got going.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I have a very similar story. It wasn't because of work, but because of COVID. And it was the same thing. It was like, I just have to do something. Sitting is not an option.
Yes.
And dwelling is not an option.
That's exactly right.
I absolutely love that. So as you've been building this, I'm, for everybody listening, we do talk offline. We have lots of fun conversations. And so I have to remember that you were not a part of those as we were hanging out and laughing. But, we've talked about niching down and other aspects, but what was a pivotal moment in your brand's journey that really defined where you are today?
There's a few. I will say, when I decided to launch my company, I also was kind of given this opportunity to join this executive coaching program. Mm-hmm. Which is honestly the best gift I could have ever given myself. I mean, it's terrifying, right? You've just gone through a major job loss. It's not like I had very clear, sustainable funding coming my way, but it was just one of those leaps of faith. And it is really one of the best things that ever happened to me because the whole foundational part of the program is almost reconnecting with who you are and mm-hmm. what your natural strengths are and getting honest with yourself about, where you find your joy in addition to what you're good at and where is that overlap. And it's not that we all just get to go off and, follow our exact passion every day, but is there a middle ground there where that moment meets that you feel like you could really dig in? So I actually just finished the program recently. It was a year long and it was, they're actually called Leap Academy. So it's a nice, I'm
just making leaps all over the place there.
So that was the beginning, I think, of one of those pivotal moments. And then actually someone I met through that program, they do these biannual retreats in person. So you get to meet other folks that have gone through the program or also experiencing some kind of evolution in their career. And I had been calling myself a growth strategist, and he looked at my LinkedIn and he was asking me these questions, and he's like, super interested in what you're doing, but like, I don't fully get what you do. Like, what are you about? And I'm like, well, I do growth strategy. And, his first question was like, okay, so you do go to market? I'm like, well, not really. And he's like, well, you do like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, it was this light bulb moment of the language I'm using is important. And if you're coming from a different, maybe more traditional corporate background, the language is going to hit different. And so I had to like get a little bit more centered. I ran up to my hotel room. I put on ChatGPT and I'm like, okay, like this is what I'm calling myself, but this is what I do. And like, how do I rethink the way I'm expressing this? And thank you, ChatGPT. It brought back some really helpful and interesting language around, I focus more on the unseen elements of transitions and that kind of more like connective tissue of the organization.
Yes.
So all of these things are in service of these, kind of broader, maybe more corporate languagey type things. So I started playing with that a little bit more. And then as I was sharing with you just recently, when I started to then hone in even further on who is it that I'm looking to serve, who is my ideal client. And every time I closed my eyes, there was a through line. And it's always a woman that has a very clear true north and is trying to make some kind of impact either in her community or in the world. And so once I figured that out, it was like, okay, now it's all coming together. And so I feel like those 3 moments for me are very, very just kind of clear in my mind about how I got to where I'm at today.
I think the thing that really resonates with me that you said that is super important is the idea that the words you use matter. Your messaging matters, because you can have all these concepts in your head, but when we start using words that, let's say your ideal customer looks at growth as sales. That's essentially what he was saying when he said it for the go to market. And you're like, no, I mean, like, I can help you get better sales through better systems, but like, I'm not going to upheave your sales team. Those are 2 very different messages. And it's funny because last week, I don't think time matters. I was working, let's be honest here. I was working with a bunch of business owners, and I was taking them through my brainstorm process. But I was having them do it, not me asking questions like I traditionally do, because I was teaching a larger whole. And as they're answering their questions and they're putting things to our dear friend ChatGPT and like they're like, this isn't my brand. And I go, well, you answered the questions. So that's how it comes off to others, because it's being reflected back to you. And they were like, oh, I was like, so we have a messaging problem.
Yes.
And that matters.
Yes. Well, it's so hard. I think you and I were just talking about this. Like, it can be really difficult when you are the one in it and you are trying to be the one to express it, right? Which is why having an expert like you come in and guide that conversation, right? That changes it. And it's honestly similar for me. I come in as an outside perspective. I might not be an expert in your industry, but I am an expert in, transitions and evolutions. And so, getting somebody that might ask you critical questions that you're not asking yourself can be part of what is like the catalyst for that shift.
And oh man, this is totally not a conversation on AI, but like same thing. Like, it is the questions you ask. And I think that that's really important. Because let's be real, Kristin, you can step in tomorrow into a finance company that a woman is running and ask her the right questions. You could step in tomorrow into a staffing company, ask the right questions. You can step in tomorrow into a zebra farm in Montana and ask the right questions.
Is anybody doing that? Because I would absolutely love to work with you.
I don't know. That's been my most like out of the box example lately. Every time I say it, everybody looks at me like, zebras in Montana.
Oh, no, I'm into it. Let's go for it.
There's zebras in Arizona. So I think you're right. It's the questions you ask, and questions have power, so much power to help affect change. And I think what you're doing is dare I say, transformational.
Yeah. I have to share. It's so interesting that you just said that because I have a peer who I respect deeply, and he's, at the forefront of all these like very incredible things happening in the AI space and working with like, pretty massive organizations. And he was sharing that the head of HR for one of these, major corporate entities they were talking about also having young kids and what does this mean for workforce development for the future. And their perspective was, you're no longer going to be hired for the questions you can answer. You're going to be hired for your ability to ask the right questions, because all of these things and these tools are going to come online that will allow, some of these questions to be answered in a specific way, but we need to know how to ask the right questions to pull that out. And that's where it still takes expertise, but it's a flip of like pushing the answer out versus like pulling it out. And I thought that was really fascinating.
I think that's why people have such a like, oh, it's going to steal our jobs. And I always look at using AI as like, it is a strategic thought partner for me to get even more strategic.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, sometimes I go to it straight for answers. Like my kid got in trouble the other day and now we're watching the 13th Amendment and finding out why some of these things have happened in history. So I had to create a workbook for a third grader based on that documentary.
That's actually really cool. I love that.
Thank you. That's how my child gets in trouble here. Taking away things does not work, but making him understand why things happen is really important. But to the point of kids, it's teaching them how to really start to strategically ask questions. And when they used to be in trouble for asking why all the time, and then as little girls, gosh, we were always told to be like, be quiet, please don't ask questions, don't do that. Now asking questions is so important.
Totally. Yeah.
And how you ask questions is so important.
Yeah.
And when they're like, I mean, our kids are the same age for everyone listening. And in 10 years, they're going to college. And it's a lot to think about, but I'm moving to Italy.
Or like whatever it looks like, right? It could be totally different. In 10 years, I think so much will change. I mean, I really believe they're going to be like, oh, what, mom, you didn't have an AI robot friend in your pocket all growing up? Like, I really believe there will be things similar for our generation that was like, oh, you didn't have access to a smartphone, right? They happen so quickly. And so, yes, being cognizant of that and being aware of it, I think is really important.
It's important. My child will never understand how to turn on a sink, I swear.
Yeah.
Or how to manually roll up a window or how to T9 text. Like the transformation. I am of the age where like things happened very fast.
Yeah.
When I was little, cell phones were big box things, but they weren't, people didn't traditionally have them. But by the time I was 10, I was playing Snake on my mom's Nokia. And Y2K happened. And then, by the time I left high school, Facebook was just starting. So I just think of like how much time has changed to this is now like a full on computer. In my pocket.
Oh my gosh. Stop it.
Stop it. Oh my God.
I knew I liked you.
Oh, it's wild.
Really not surprising, actually, is it though?
I was not expecting you to do that.
What TikTok ad got to both of us at the same time? I must have.
I went in a hot debate over black or this color.
Same.
Checkerboard though, so like so neutral. Looks like LV. Oh man, that was epic. All right, I'm gonna try to remember to make that a cut for social media, everybody, because that was money. Oh man. I don't even know what we're talking about. Something about transformation of AI.
Okay, AI is happening. It's coming for us. Ignore it at your own peril. Figure out how to make it work for you, though, honestly. I know this is off topic, but I do believe if we use it right, it can be in service of those of us like getting to do more of the work we care about, right? So like let it, manage some of these systems, figure out how to use it in a way where now you get to focus more on your craft than on managing some of this back end stuff that can be kind of shifted over. So in those ways, I find it really exciting.
A dear girlfriend of mine, her name is Erica. She has a podcast called AI Queens.
Oh,
And
awesome.
she literally actually just posted that. She's like, it's not here to take over your job. It's here to let you be in your genius zone.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Much better way of saying what I was just trying to say. I love
Oh,
it.
no, you said the same thing. I just remembered it. That was a sentence that I really remembered. And so,
Yes. Yes. I love that. I'm writing it down.
so, you could live in a life of fear-based mongering, but you'll never change.
Yeah.
Time will continue to change.
Yep. Exactly.
Over 15 minutes have gone by. Something has changed in our lives.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So it's happening whether you like it or not, folks. It's happening whether you like it or not. Well, looking forward, Kristin, I feel like I now need to fly to where you are and hang out. Actually, a girlfriend of mine is literally headed your way today. We were talking about it today. Yeah, she has I think it's a gymnastics meet that's happening down there. So she's going to be there for 5 days.
It's a cute town. It's a cute town. Everybody come visit, but don't move here. Sacramento. It's an amazing place.
Oh man. It's so fun. So all of us women earlier, before I go into future planning, in Sacramento, I went to elementary school there and part of middle school. A girlfriend of mine also lived in Sacramento at a different time, still has a 916 area code. And then this friend is going there today. And we were just all talking about it. And I looked at Linda earlier and I go, wait a second. She goes, yeah, I got it when I first had that Nokia brick phone. I go, I lived in Sacramento during that phone. And we were using phones as time increment.
Mile marker.
And I was like, this is so funny because most of the women in my neighborhood are at least 10 years older than me. And so I was like, Linda had to have been in college and I was the same age as our children are now. Gotta love life. Alrighty, looking forward. And everybody don't move to Sacramento. Do visit it. The old town downtown is really gorgeous. And I kind of miss Jawbreakers on a random.
Listen, I have to say, so I'm doing this leadership program, this local leadership program, and we got to do a Sacramento history tour in Old Town. And you can do these underground tours that are just fascinating. And I feel actually embarrassed how much I did not know about my own city's history, but they do a lot in a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. So if you do visit and you've never been, Sacramento History Museum, I'm making a plug.
It's so beautiful. Have you gone gold panning yet?
Oh yeah, I mean yes.
I mean Sacramento.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We're also now your Sacramento tour guides. Don't mind us. I
just call me up.
Just loved being a little kid there. I think it's a really pretty place.
Yeah, it's a special city. Going through its own evolution, actually, which is pretty interesting.
Oh, okay. So I need to go back. That's what I heard. That's what I heard. So when I go in the future, what are your long-term goals for expanding your brand's impact that I'm going to get to see in real time?
I really, it just comes down to, I want to see more people winning, more women winning specifically. I want, we've talked about this too. I love men. I've got an incredible, husband who I adore, but I was I subscribe to this newsletter that shares all of these things going on, mostly either Silicon Valley, New York, but it's they highlight the up and coming, startups or the scale ups that just got their first or second round. And, it's people to jam with. And before I clued into this very specific group that I want to support, I just kind of was consuming this newsletter. And once I made the shift, I started really looking at it.
Yeah.
And unsurprisingly, less than 10%, closer to 5% are women that they're highlighting, right? And we're talking about forefront of AI. We're talking about forefront of new technology. And the women, I will say at least half that they highlighted were the hiring manager, not the leader of the organization. And so I know we've done a lot of work and we've come far, but I want to be part of what gets us further. And so the impact that I want to see is both on the organizations that I'm working with, but also on the leader themselves. So that's part of what makes my work a bit different is I'm not just focused on the organizational health component of your evolution, whether it's growth or pivot or post-merger or whatever it is. The health of your organization is directly tied to the health of its leadership. So how do we pull these things together and not keep them so separate? And I really believe that in doing that, we'll get to intentionally build the next iteration of our organizations in a way that will allow them to have even more impact on their communities or the world. So that feels important to me. And I really hope to grow enough to where I can also bring additional women into the like space, right? So I have more collaborators, more co-conspirators, other women that can help be part of that support system for women. So that's what I think about when I think about growth for myself.
I think that's really beautiful. And I'm curious, which is totally not forward facing, future facing, but I mean, this question could be as I'm like staring into the ceiling, like it's going to come magically. Is what do you think actually holds women back from being the ones who get to share their impact in that way? Because I can almost promise you that the hiring manager who was highlighted was because a woman leader said, highlight this person. And when you're at the top, there's very few people wanting to do that for you. And men are so used to doing it for themselves.
Oh,
So what do
interesting.
you think is what holds them back from being able to make that happen?
Oh my gosh. I feel like
Well, that was
that
a
is
loaded
such a,
question.
well, there's so many layers, right? And I think it probably depends on the circumstance in so many ways, right? But even, so part of what I've been doing recently is going on this kind of listening tour of women I admire or respect to, number one, make sure I'm not making major assumptions about, challenges that they might have and not looking to solve a problem that people aren't trying to solve, right? So it feels important to me to connect with the type of people that I would actually support.
Yeah.
And one of these women who I adore, we were talking about this and she was like, listen, I love that you're focusing on women and it's so fantastic. She's like, and many of them will still likely have to run many things by a male in leadership, whether it's on their board, whether it's their funder, whether it's their investor, right? And so it was kind of this like moment. And, I think that there's a lot of these kind of systemic issues that even if you want to be promoting yourself, even if you want it, even if you want to get there, there's still like a lot of things at play that might not allow for that. As far as, our own kind of putting ourselves out there, I think this is just naturally an issue that women have had, whether we're born with it, whether it's from society, whether it's both. I think it's really, it can feel unnatural to be the one that's like out there promoting ourselves on our own behalf or putting ourselves out there for the award. It's like, no, don't highlight me, highlight this person, or it was a team effort, right? It's never
Team
like,
effort, always the word used. Yes.
So I think there's a lot of work to be done there. And, I have to give it, credit again to that coaching program I went through. Ilana, the owner, is big on this, and she's for everyone too, right? And it's because a lot of folks that come into her program are also shifting into like finding their own true north. And she's like, send out a thing for an award. She's like, we're gonna have our own awards. Like, you have to be able to get into the habit of like recognizing your own wins in order for other people to ever see them. So we need to like actually be able to celebrate those things, I think, before they can ever be, shown to anyone else.
And taking the time to celebrate, not just like checking it off your to-do list and like, okay, I did it.
Yeah.
I know I do that often.
I know.
I will be like, okay, great, podcast launch. All right, what's next?
Yep.
Everyone's like, did
What's
you
next?
celebrate? And I'm like,
Yes.
I don't know, I took a nap. Like,
Yeah.
that's like a celebration, I guess.
The goalpost will always move, right? I mean, I'm sure much of your audience is similar, right? It's people that really, are ambitious and they find themselves wanting more out of life or whatever the circumstance might be. And yes, all of that is wonderful and to be celebrated in and of itself. But yeah, I think that it's just not the thing that we're taught to do. And I think about that a lot with my daughter. She was at her first softball game of the season last night and she was already beating herself up for like not being great at pitching. And this is their first season playing, player pitch.
Player pitch. Oh,
and I'm like, yeah, listen, don't even get me going.
Last year, Grayson was first year of player pitch and I was biting my nails the whole time.
It is brutal. I never knew that we were going to be a softball family. Here we are. It's awesome. But like, it is a transition year. It is they're learning this new skill. It's a muscle they haven't used. So whether you're pitching or hitting, both are hard. And she was already giving herself so much grief. And I'm like, yo, this is your first time. Like, celebrate the fact that you're even out here doing this. That's huge, but so I hope that maybe we'll get to like, infuse a little bit more of that in her, than maybe I grew up with.
Keep doing it. Grayson one time was in the back seat and he gets really down on himself too, honestly. Like he'll be like,
Yeah.
I'm not the best lacrosse player on the team. I'm like, yeah, but you are one of the best. And sidebar, I know part of it comes from his dad because he'll be like, well, he's not the best. I'm like, he doesn't need to be. He just needs to be one of the best. It's a team sport. But I had said something negative. I remember because I was driving down our street and I really remember this. And I'm like, almost to the stop sign, I say something. He goes, hey, Mom, we don't talk like that about ourselves.
Oh, I love
And so
that.
I was just kind of like, well, you're right, sir. I will change the way I'm speaking about this because I spend a lot of time of like what you say over yourself matters.
Yeah.
And we don't talk like that about ourselves. Like I constantly
That's
say it.
beautiful. That's
And
beautiful.
so
They're listening.
Yep.
They're listening. They are. They
They're
always are.
listening.
Every once in a while to things maybe they shouldn't be, but that's okay.
Hence the 13th Amendment. Random mom tip for anybody
Yeah.
whose kids playing baseball and softball, life lesson. Make sure you have one of those helmets that has like a jaw guard.
Oh, yes.
Please and
Yes.
thank you,
Yes.
because my kid took a baseball to the face last year.
That is brutal. They throw hard. I'm like,
Hard.
I'm over here like the least athletic person you'll ever meet. Like, am I like watching my 9-year-old just like slam it, and it's really wild to watch.
It's so wild. That's the bravest I think I've ever seen my kid be. Like he like went down, doesn't really cry, goes to get back up, and all of us adults are like, actually, just for like our peace of mind, we need you to remove yourself. And he was like, no, I want to go hit it again. And we were like, no, like ice, ice, man, ice. I took him to go get the Oakleys he wanted after that. That was like a very serious mom moment of like, okay, fine, you earned it, because I couldn't take a baseball to the face. I just simply couldn't do it.
Not many of us could.
No. Well, as we look to this, like as we're growing as a mom, you're going to have an incredible agency that has all these women working for you, your co-conspirators. How are you going to go into the world? How's your marketing strategy going to adapt to support that growth?
I've been thinking about this a lot because I think, so much of it is I have to get myself caught up even to the moment I'm in, right? Like there's so much content out there all the time, right? And we have to be on these platforms, and who knew that we got to be on LinkedIn? Like I'm learning all of these things as I go, and so I have to honestly evolve my own brand even for this current moment. And how do I create something for myself that is sustainable and maybe scalable, right? Sustainability for me feels most important. So with that, it is a lot of thinking around not just how am I branding the work itself, but are there other, more evergreen components that can be pieces of the work that I provide, right? That might be accessible to women that I'm not necessarily working with one-on-one, but they can get access to, whether it's like, organizational health assessment or something of the like. And all of those things then, right, have to be branded in the right way, and they have to show up in the right way, and they have to get in front of the right people.
Yes.
So I know that will be a big evolution for me when I get to that point. And honestly, I'm sure this will continue over the years, right? Like I think the more and more I get to know my client, and the more and more we start to dig in on like, what are these themes that really start to organically show up? A lot of that will then get infused, right? And whatever the evolution of that brand is, right? So I foresee a lot of that in the future. And right now I just got to get myself caught up.
You're like, come on, Ray, I just decided on this thing. Like, chill out. It's okay. I totally get it. Alrighty, my friend, we have come to our last 2 power questions. The questions I never sent in advance.
Oh no.
They're easy.
I'm ready for it.
You're so ready. We all love to hear it. On the note of taking a chill and celebrating your wins, what does a day living a luxurious life look like to you?
Oh, luxurious life.
It's the Luxe Leap, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, that's right. This is so lame, but I will say that honestly, it's starting a Saturday morning on the couch with my kids, reading a book while they like watch a movie or, whatever. And there's no pressure to be anywhere that day. We don't have a sporting event. We don't have a family engagement. We don't have a play date. We are just like doors wide open to the day. And, my husband, sweet husband, will make coffee every morning. He makes the coffee, and, my very perfect coffee that he has perfected that I cannot make. So it's him making a coffee. It's all of us eating breakfast together. And then, it's like a little adventure in our city. I think that there is still so much for them to uncover. And we were very intentional about where we live so that they can explore these things. And we don't get to as often as I'd like because life is, full. So luxury feels like just a slowing down, frankly, to me, and like not being overscheduled. And but if I'm going like way crazy, it's like I'm off on a yoga retreat in Mexico. That's my other side of luxury.
Hey, you can have both. Like, it
Yes,
can be a
listen,
stay-at-home luxury day, because that sounded like heaven to me, to not have to be the magic school bus.
Yeah.
As I think about what my Saturdays entail. And for me, it's like not even getting out of bed. I just want to book in bed.
Whatever. Yes.
But somebody had answered this question too, to your point of like yoga retreat in Mexico. I'm like, please take me with you. And then I will go do yoga, go get a massage, and then like, let me just lay in bed with the windows wide open, hearing the ocean.
Yes.
Like just with no child saying mom, to be real with you.
Yes. And part of it too, right? It's like, I feel like I've had my attention span back a little bit now that my oldest is almost 6. I'm like, okay, I can actually read a book again. There were years there where I was like, don't put a book in front of me, forget it. Like, there's just no way. I do not have the capacity to take this information in. And now that that's coming back, that's all I want to do. Like, I just want to read.
I just want to sit and read. I remember the day I could put necklaces back on because he wasn't going to grab them
or the earrings, so it's not pulling off. Yeah, that's right.
It's so funny to think of, like, in terms of their lives, where luxury starts to happen. Like, I'm waiting for the day somebody hops on the show and goes, luxury for me right now would be to just go to the bathroom by myself.
Yes, and that is real. That is real, and I feel it. And if you're out there, and if that's you, it will happen. That transition does happen eventually.
I know. Mine still is like beating down the door. Last one, best one. In one word, what is your primary motivation in business?
Freedom.
Freedom. Ooh, why?
Because I, in so many ways, have spent a lot of my life figuring out how to make myself good at something that maybe I wasn't the best at naturally, but found a way to be really, really good at and win. And now that I'm doing it on my own terms, I have the freedom to choose where I'm putting my energy, how I'm using my energy, how I'm using my skill set and my experience to support people. It's freedom and autonomy of my own day and movement, right? Like with my 2 young kids, it feels deeply important to me to have the space where I get to go be art docent in their class, and I get to like, hang out a little bit on a school day, and I'm not rushing around. And there's nothing wrong with that. I lived that life for a long time, but for me in this moment, that feels deeply important. And honestly, it's financial freedom too. It's being able to build something on my own terms. When the business that I worked for blew up overnight, you're just faced with this craziness of like, whoa. And I think it was a giant learning for me of, okay, that's fine. Even if I do, one day down the road, end up back in that life, I now know how to build something for myself. And that feels really important.
It's so important. It's so powerful to have it as yours. Because sometimes we feel such a sense of stability in these jobs, and then the rug is pulled out from underneath of you, and you just, if you don't know how to build something, you have to learn how to build something. But once you've done it once, you can do it again and again and again, and you're only going to get better. So it
feels like that, like emergency lever that's over here that you're like, okay, cool, I can pull that if I need to, right? Like that's there, and that feels like security to me more than any salary I think could have.
1 trillion, 1,000 million %. I am in the season of I'm betting on myself first. And I understand that. That is freedom. And we're just going to say that is freedom. Otherwise, we'll have a whole nother podcast episode here in 5 seconds. So, Kristin, where can they find you? If somebody wants to work with you, hire you, how can they get a hold of you?
Honestly, best right now is LinkedIn. I'm super active on there. I'm on there every day because that feels like where a lot of community is being built. And so it's where I keep my most up-to-date information. And it's where you can, I answer all of my messages. I know some people don't at some point, but like, I love it. So yes, LinkedIn is usually the best place.
I love it. And I will link your LinkedIn into the show notes. So if you're interested in working with Kristin, by all means, her name is on this podcast episode, but you can also go below and click her information and connect with her there. Thank you, everybody, for listening. It's always a joy to talk about big, bold moves, big wins, and just the secrets to creating an extraordinary brand. And if you are looking to up-level your brand in any way, feel free to book a brand new to brand breakthrough with me. I would love to just give you a video audit of everything that others can see and see how you can transform to take your next big leap. So thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks, Réland.